Hello and welcome to another episode of Disc 2 Movie Review with me, Rhian Evans. This week I am joined very kindly by David Dawson, and we are going to be chatting about The Greatest Showman and Singin' in the Rain. Hey Dawson.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good,
Thanks
how
for
are you?
having me here.
Thank you very much for being here. Let's start with Singin' in the Rain, shall we?
Yeah, definitely, let's do that.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again.
This has been one on loads of must-watch films before you die sort of thing. I've been meaning to watch it for ages and ages and ages, and I finally did. And I thought it was absolutely delightful.
I think that's a really good way of putting it. Actually, yeah, it is delightful. It's that really old school kind of Sunday afternoon. It's raining outside. You put it on. You relax. You do nothing. It doesn't matter if you walk out and make a cup of tea and come back. Mm-hmm. You're not really going to have missed a plot point. Yeah. It is. It's beautiful, isn't it? And I think probably, even though it wasn't as massive a success as An American in Paris, another Gene Kelly, I think it probably has stood the test of time in terms of its fandom. And also, I think with the move to the theatre, it really is one where I think it's just all the family love it, don't they?
Yeah.
You know
it's
the
charming.
songs. Even if you've not seen the film, I'm sure you recognise the songs.
Yeah.
A beautifully shot, really well choreographed with Gene Kelly, possibly the best dancer, singer, performer ever.
I was reading up about Gene Kelly. Apparently he was a bit of a tyrant and made a lot of people cry. But I guess when you're aiming for perfection and a film that stands the test of time, that could be a bit excusable.
I definitely think so. I think for him to be the star power he was, I mean, it's straight away when it opens with the titles, and of course you get in those days the kind of credits almost first with who he's right there as co-director, co-choreographer. It's like you know who's the boss.
Singin' in the Rain with Gene Kelly.
And that's it. No one else. I play the part. I play everybody. I have the costumes, makeup, everything.
Exactly.
But yeah.
I found some interesting facts reading up about it. I thought the chemistry between him and main lady Debbie
Reynolds.
Yes, Debbie Reynolds.
Yes.
I thought was absolutely lovely.
Yes,
Turns out she was 19 and she'd never danced before.
Yeah.
And her agent brought her along to the audition, and Gene Kelly was just like, "Oh, what are you doing to me?" Just right in front of her. Absolutely brutal. But,
oh, brilliant! Maybe that scene then in the film when they have that kind of maybe when she's a bit kind of annoyed at his power at the start. Maybe that's just playing it real.
Acting.
That's just her like, you did this to me. I'm still in this film, but look what you did. Yeah, and I love seeing her, and it's the beautiful moments I think in the film is it's almost the bad editing at times when you see things where it's like the great scene where she comes out of the cake, and of course she's there with the other girls, and I think every so often as soon as it cuts back, the scene that the other kind of extras in the scene, they're throwing this kind of ticker tape on them, and
that
and they're
was
literally
horrible.
there's like this poor girl in the back who's literally drenched on her face, trying to be elegant and super, and every time it cuts back, she's got something new on her face, and somebody else's more, and across their eyes.
It's funny that you noticed that. I wrote that down, and it was like, oh, this starts off nice, like it's a nice idea, and then I was just like, oh God, stop!
Drowning,
like, just
literally, you expect the one to get strangled in a minute, but it does date it, but it is charming as well.
Yeah, it dates it in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
I was so wowed by Make 'Em Laugh. It's incredible, the athleticism that he would have. I mean, he did flips. He was a ventriloquist at one point. Did a bit of slapstick Chaplin-style comedy, facial expressions, whilst lip syncing. Obviously, it was incredible. Apparently, he went into hospital for exhaustion after that, and then it turned out a cameraman had messed it up, and he had to reshoot it. So, but that was brilliant. And I thought I liked Cosmo Brown. I found him funny, but I also found him funny in a way that it looked like he could maybe murder someone. Do you see it in his eyes? It's like, oh, this guy's nice.
He's got a proper rubber face, hasn't he? There's something about him. But and I know it's the first time him and Gene worked together, but it doesn't feel it, does it?
No,
it feels like it is two pros, especially when at the very opening of the film, when Gene Kelly's kind of going through these lies about how they made it to fame, and it's, of course, he's saying how they went to all the best schools and this and that, and then you look back and it's them and the routines they're doing on stage. And just the energy and it's all sublime.
It's lovely. I
Yeah,
know I said
it's
that. It's just
raw,
really lovely.
but
Such
incredible, you know,
Mm.
what you're watching. But yeah, he's amazing. And I know you were saying he had to go to hospital. I know Gene Kelly, of course, famously did Sing in the Rain with a full-on fever.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, but
Yeah.
again, ever the pro managed
Yeah.
to do it. And I found an amazing fact out, which I found really interesting, so when I was in America, and of course you go and do the tours of these places, and they said at the time of recording, water didn't pick up especially well on film, so they had to add milk to the rain. So he's actually singing in the milk. It's actually what's happening, which I think is quite clever as well.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, again, I think it's funny with the story. Even though it wasn't a Broadway musical beforehand, it feels like it could be they've taken a musical and put it on.
I wrote that down. Yeah.
It's just. It doesn't feel outright like a film, and whereas, you know, with The Greatest Showman, I know we'll be talking about it shortly, but that cleverly almost goes the other way, where it almost touches on the past, and there was great moves. There's a lovely moment in The Greatest Showman where him and his wife, when they're very poor, on top of the rooftops dancing with all the cloths, and there's a great big moon behind them, and the lighting's beautiful, and it just reminds me of the scene where Gene Kelly walks in and to the studio, and he turns on the background and turns on the smoke and things like that,
Yeah,
and it's
right.
just a mirror. It's
Pays homage to it.
beautiful, yeah, very much so. And maybe, I don't know whether it might not be at all, but it is there, isn't it? It's very much that studio. You can tell it's not, you know, a real rooftop. It is a stage.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the two connect really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I have got one point that I always notice in old films, and I don't know, I'm assuming other people think it, but I don't know. When people kiss in old films, it looks horrible and really, really unenjoyable for both people involved, because it's not even like they pucker like you would give your nan a kiss or something. It's like flat lips and then just like rubbing faces, and I didn't know.
It's still like, it's as if the director said, we still need to see your face because you're the stars. And it's almost like, you know, they've looked at some Greek statues and gone, this is how you need to kiss. Just press and slightly wiggle.
Press and wiggle.
And we'll play some music behind. And you know, you always see, it's like in Gone with the Wind and things like that. That always, for some reason, the men always have to just grip the woman by the arms to kiss them. It's always like, I'm going to hold you and squeeze you and bring you in. And it's just, it's a bit...
Like melting their neck into their shoulder.
That can't be enjoyable. It's like, really, it can't be. But... no, I completely agree. It is a bit hideous, isn't it?
One last thing about Singing in the Rain, I thought the humour, humour feels ahead of its time. That scene where they've moved to the talkies and the main actress has a terrible voice. So and basically it's a bit like The Play That Goes Wrong. And I was just like, this is brilliant. And it's so nice to see that humour still being used today. It's just influenced so much, but it didn't feel dated at all. I was very impressed.
Yeah, almost. That's very true. I hadn't even really thought about it, but almost like, when they're trying to hide the mic and it's like in there and she's got the pearls and she's not hearing it and she's turning away. It's almost like the spoof version, Naked Gun. And it has that. I think it allows itself to take the mick a little bit off it, doesn't it? But it's not too obvious.
Yeah.
But that's where that kind of wholesome comedy kind of stands. There's nothing vulgar at all. You know, there's no hint of anything dangerous almost in Singing in the Rain.
It's just a nice amount of silly.
It is. Whereas, of course, you know, with The Greatest Showman, even though it pays homage to those old films, there is nothing old about it. You know, the music, which I think is what makes that film. Yeah. Is just incredible.
It is.
The dance routines just make you want to be there and be in that crowd. I just wanted to run away and join the circus. I was like, you know, showman musical circus. That's what I want to open now. But, you know...
it's so true, though. I mean, everything was just slick. And if I'm honest, I wasn't a huge... I mean, I love musicals. You know that I enjoy musicals. And I was going in with very high expectations because so many people love it. But I wasn't a massive fan. But I thought... aesthetically it was stunning, and in terms of music and routines, they're faultless. And I did come out, I wasn't wowed by it, but I did come out being like, I must go to tap lessons, you know? I must learn to dance, you know.
No, I didn't want to learn it. I just wanted to be in there, even if it was like me just jumping around crazily. I think I know what you mean. The story in itself could be better. It's very, you know where it's going, you know what it's going to do. and it kind of brushes past other things. The freaks, the circus freaks, aren't actually used as much as I thought they'd be. Now, I hadn't actually seen this film. I watched it when I knew we were going to be doing this. Had heard good things. I instantly understood why it had done so well on the album chart.
Yeah.
But I also realised why it hasn't been as talked about as a film.
Yes.
Not to say it isn't good. Not to say you can't sit down. Very much like Sing in the Rain, you can sit down on a Sunday afternoon and chill and watch it and really enjoy it. And you probably have the closest we will get, even though it's still a far way off, in my opinion, off a modern Gene Kelly and Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
He has been the stage into
man.
that. Very. And it almost does feel, whereas as Singin' in the Rain has done and become a massive now theatre, sensation, that's where I think The Greatest Showman will probably end up.
Yeah.
And that's where it'll be loved, because I think it will sit better for a theatre than the films.
Yeah.
Not discrediting the film or saying it's bad.
It's been very appropriate for the social climate as well. I'm assuming that the director and writers and production people took that into account, but obviously with the accepting people for mental health issues, negative body imagery, and especially women feeling more okay with their bodies. I guess The Greatest Showman was a very fun but very poignant film to sort of hit that mark with people, and maybe that's also where some of its success lies.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It's
I mean, I don't know many bearded ladies, but they would feel very good about themselves after watching this film.
Men, but, but that's where I felt it just didn't have enough for me. There was an awful lot where you see where he kind of distances himself from his acts, from the freak show side of it, because he wants, he's wanting those critical acclaims of something a bit more kind of grand, and he's trying to find that, fame of an upper class area that he's never been accepted into or found, but because of that, we almost lose them a little bit, I think.
No, you're right, actually. Yeah, it becomes more just about him.
Yeah, and they're very forgiving. It almost, again, spoilers, but when they have the fire, they've been. The bearded lady says herself, we've been, shut out all our lives by our parents, but this is our family. But he isn't the best as it goes on with his family in that sense. Both his real family and them, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to have seen a bit more of that. The brilliant song "This Is Me" is probably the pivotal moment for them. But I did find them. They kind of
it was lacking a little bit.
Yeah. Which surprised me.
Do you think that musicals suffer in terms of storyline because there's so much emphasis on the singing and dancing, which obviously is the point of a musical? But they put so much emphasis on those two aspects that the storyline suffers? Or do you think it's just that they just don't need that much depth for it because it's a happy outing?
I know what you mean. I think you're given an easier story, very much in the sense of The Greatest Showman. It follows that small narrative. You don't get, you're taken on a roller coaster ride but you know where you're going. I think with musical theatre, I think they do kind of hone in the stories. You can argue there are others out there, Les Mis, which goes over blooming decades and story and this, that, and the other. There's a lot going on there, but if you look at other versions, Jekyll and Hyde, Sweeney Todd, Wicked, the story isn't overly engineered, it isn't overly populous big. It's simplified to a degree where we can sit and enjoy, follow it, and in 2 hours find a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
And it's an escape, isn't it? That's what films and theatre, that's what they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you can't. You can't keep going into it. It's interesting.
Yeah, you don't want to make Requiem for a Dream into a musical.
Yeah. But yeah, I think people just want to go for that escape, and I think these two films certainly
definitely
are that.
do that.
And when you get something as beautiful as Singin' in the Rain and The Greatest Showman, in terms of just the music, in terms of the look, how can you not really go away with taking something from it?
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing. Even if it's not the world's greatest film, it's certainly something that sticks in your mind, I think.
Still The Greatest Showman.